The key elements of a parenting plan, there are two different categories to think about. One is who's going to be responsible for making what decisions. What people usually focus on is who gets to see the children when, right? So two different categories. Who gets to make what decisions is equally critical, and that has to do with four elements. We call them bundles, and that's who gets to decide the children's education, who gets to decide their non-emergency medical requirements, who gets to decide their extracurriculars, and who gets to decide what religion they're going to be raised in. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but for example, religion, that really has to do with, will the children have bar mitzvahs? Will the children be baptized? If they're going to be baptized, will they be baptized by immersion or by sprinkling, right? So it gets down to the nitty-gritty. What that doesn't mean, for example, is can you take your children to your service? Yes, you can. So let's say that one parent winds up getting religion decisions, and they decide they want to raise their children Jewish, and the other parent is Christian, and they decide they want to take their children to Sunday morning service. You can still do that. With regard to extracurriculars, that is the parent that's making the decision about whether they're going to play soccer, whether they're going to play basketball, how often they're going to play. So you can start to see in those decisions some need to be real specific on how often are they going to practice. There are cases where a parent has a decision, the right to decide about what extracurricular is going to look like. And so the next thing you know, they have 5 nights of practice, and the custodial parent doesn't see their child at all. So those are some of the key elements that you've got to be keenly aware of in parenting plans. Balancing holidays and special occasions. I have a strong bias about this, but at the same time, it is a client's decision. And I'll give you a perfect example. Christmas. Whenever there's an exchange of children, the children are clock watching, right? So they're keenly aware of what time they're supposed to go from one parent to another. Go back to the idea of Christmas. Let's say that your plan says that you're going to exchange children at 2 o'clock on Christmas Day. So you wake up, and from the moment they wake up, they're aware of 2 o'clock, and they're focused on 2 o'clock, and you are too. So what's going to happen? So my bias is that you don't exchange the children on Christmas Day, that you exchange them on the 26th. But sometimes I'll advise that to a client, and they're really attached to, we want both parents to see them on Christmas Day. You got to decide. You got to ask yourself that question, because it's your decision. What are you and your former spouse comfortable with? What can you make work? Just do it with the knowledge that the children are equally keenly aware of what time these exchanges are taking place. How should you handle disagreements within the plan? Well, you know the old maxim, a good fence builds good neighbors. I'm a firm believer in having an airtight fence, as airtight as you can possibly have it. Imagine a scenario, it isn't infrequently true, where you and your soon-to-be ex-spouse, soon-to-be because you're working on the parenting plan, right? You're still married. And you're getting along great, right? You can pick up the phone and say, I want to make a change, and you make a change. And so your temptation is to think, I don't need a strong parenting plan. Everything will be good. In perpetuity? Maybe, hopefully. But in our experience, time passes, things change, and maybe 5 years from now, you guys are getting along great again, but somewhere in the 2-year to 3-year mark, maybe not, right? Maybe another significant other enters the picture and they've changed the dynamic. Better to plan ahead, anticipate that things may not be as rosy as they are right now. Judges like to tell you the best parenting plan is one that you sign and you put in the drawer and you never look at again, and I firmly agree with that. But what happens if you have to look at it again? So to go back to the idea, what do you do with disagreements? The more that you lock down those disagreements before they become disagreements, the more that you lay out how you resolve those disagreements ahead of time, the less disagreement you're going to have. I think you want to have a very detailed parenting plan, down to, I'll give you a good example. I hope it's a good example. Down to how long you have to wait before you can call this visitation exchange, right? Let's say that the children are supposed to be picked up at 5 o'clock. And it's good to have in the parenting plan that you'll wait for 30 minutes before it's okay to make a decision that that parenting plan is not occurring. Not okay in the sense that it's okay the visitation isn't occurring, but it's okay to leave if you're the one supposed to be getting the children, right? That you can leave that place, and your spouse can't say, but I was just there 45 minutes, right? You were gone. You must not care. Our parenting plan details that. And now that you weren't there within 30 minutes, I can hold you accountable for that. And by holding you accountable from a behavioral perspective, make it less likely that you will do that again. So if you're thinking about a need to create a parenting plan and you think you want to create a strong parenting plan, please give us a call at the Manili firm. We look forward to talking with you.